Welcome to Final Thoughts Podcast, brought to you by CrossfaderLA.com, blending culture and creativity.
Hello all. Welcome to Vinyl Thoughts B-Side Edition. Shocking. I'm your host, Jeremiah Martin William Winston, here with my co-host and semi-regular host of the show, John. Say hi, John.
Yo,
indeed. And today we'll be covering, our hottest singles, the hottest news. But instead of doing our normal genre route, we're taking a detour into one of my niche interests, and that is musicals. I've had my brother here listen to 1 hour and 23 minutes of the hit musical TikTok saga Epic, a retelling of the Odyssey, and as John has not really heard many musicals in his life, so this was a new experience for him. So why don't I come in, experience the song, experience the story, see what he thinks, and I have my own thoughts about Epic as a piece of media, as a piece of work, and how it fits into other musical genres in general. All that good stuff. So that'll be today. But first and foremost, before we get into all of that stuff, we're going to hit you with the news for this week. And what a news week it is, because first and foremost, last week we talked to you about DJ Mustard's newest album, and we said it was alright, it wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it was alright. Did you say that?
It didn't change the world.
Didn't change the world. In fact, it changed the world so much it only sold about 18,000 copies, or 18,000 copies, which is unideal in a world of music sales. And DJ Mustard responded to this news he did not take the L very graciously, let's say. He went on Twitter saying, quote, "Album sales are a form of white supremacy, you niggas racist," end quote. Right. He also said,
that's what he said. I mean, yeah, just a quote. We're just quoting the facts here.
He also said, quote, "Drake is the Malcolm X of white people." And
sorry, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. At Academics, make sure you post Gordon season first week, since Drake thought he did a thing with making him drop on the same day as me, laughing face, end quote, seeming to imply some kind of sabotage. All that Drake did of his album sales.
That's so sad because I don't even know who he's talking about.
I have no clue.
Like what is he talking about?
I think he's just not taking the poor sales well. Like, really, unfortunately.
When I heard the news story, I didn't realize what he said. Like all of that. Like that is a little disappointing.
Yeah. Let's break it down here. What is Drake is the? Let's see. Drake is the Malcolm X of white people. What does that mean, though? Like what does that even imply?
Actually,
like Malcolm X was all about black liberation. He thought Malcolm X was all about like resistance through like whatever means possible, right? Against oppression. So what does Drake have to do with any of that? How does it relate to
saying that Drake is all for resistance of oppression? Drake is for the culture? That's what it sounds like.
But the culture for white people,
for white people,
they resist oppression from.
Doesn't make sense, honestly.
It's kind of a nonsensical statement.
And I think, honestly, maybe I'm crazy. It's kind of a compliment, right?
It feels like it would be a compliment, but I don't know what he means by like the phrase "Malcolm X of white people" is so inherently contradictory that I don't know how to parse it.
I'm perplexed. Perplexed.
Like I kind of want to hear. I'm so like perplexed. I kind of want to hear a whole song from Mustard, just where he tries to explain what the fuck that means. Because like, there's just I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I'm as perplexed as you are. That doesn't make much sense. I'm glad you take a second and break it down, because now that you've done that, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Maybe it's like my only thought is that maybe if Mustard doesn't fuck with Malcolm X, then maybe there's like a loop there. But even then, I feel like there are easier ways to insult Drake. I guess it's my whole point.
I know, like the more you talk about it, the more it's like he wanted to diss Drake, and his first thought was, let me compare him to a civil rights leader. Like what? What?
But
it's that kind of foresight that leads to 18,000 album sales. It's that kind of lack of ability to plan accordingly.
Yeah, or like to not kind of quarterly to not have a cognizant idea in a tweet that it's easy to parse. Like, because you know what? If there's somewhere, I feel like a better rapper could write a tweet that's such a clear insult where we wouldn't have to sit here and debate what he actually means. But like instead, we're here kind of like instead we're here like, is it even an insult? Is it a compliment? You know, I just kind of like, man, I don't know, man. I think Mustard maybe. I mean, this, with all love, right? Maybe we spend some more time honing our craft of writing these lyrics before we come trying to get creative.
He's a producer first and foremost, so
I think it shows, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's definitely showing on that one. But you know what? DJ Mustard isn't the only person taking shots at Drake this week.
You don't say.
I had to say it. Kanye West is taking aim at Drake on Vultures 2, which dropped like last night, a couple hours ago. I don't know. Like it was supposed to be. You know, I don't know if you do this, Ryan. Vultures 2 got delayed, and then it came out like, and then it just kind of dropped. Like, I forgot exactly how long it was set to be delayed for. But Vultures 2 was set to be delayed, and then we wake up one morning and it's out. And I wasn't particularly watching for, I wasn't waiting for it, so that's why I'm not sure exactly how long it had been delayed. But I remember I saw jokes when it came out, and people were like, he must have accidentally hit like submit or something last night because it wasn't supposed to be out yet. And now I've heard people are waiting for like patch note, the album to get patched and updated. People saying it's not actually
Can I just say, I love the internet and I love video games, but the advent of the practice of saying, "Oh yeah, we'll patch it in later," for other media is just really I really grinds my gears, so to speak. Like, imagine if ebooks were like, "Oh, we'll patch in the ending later." Like a patch 2, we'll add an epilogue. It's like, no, don't.
We're gonna proofread later. We're gonna proofread later. Like, you're right, and there's a lot of things like that now. And yeah, Kanye's definitely, but I mean, if anything, Kanye is the OG editing your album after the drop. So he embedded it. So I can't be mad at him for it.
So what is the Drake diss even?
Yeah, so there's two things that are Drake disses. First, Drake. I don't know if Drake is still with Adidas, but people, he was with Adidas for a bit. So there's on My Soul, he just says "fuck Adidas," which might be a shot at Drake. Whatever, it is what it is. But here's the actual Drake diss. I just thought that was funny that he says "fuck Adidas" on the album. I'm gonna try to wrap this, but I don't know how I can hit the Kanye bar here.
Okay.
You a fake bitch. You don't really love Ye, bitch. Go listen to Drake, bitch. That's the diss. There you go.
I see.
Which I mean, like, it's another one of those things where it's like, Ye, there are a lot of reasons why I wouldn't love you or listen to you. So maybe I will go listen to Drake. Like maybe I will go put on Drake because, like, you didn't actually diss him. Like,
yeah,
like it was like the lamest thing.
It's an implied diss, right?
It's an implied diss, but I also feel like if I was a struggling rapper and I wanted people to listen to my album, I would just throw in Drake's name somewhere, and that's what it feels like. Just sending a lob at Drake so that way he gets some more press on this album, like we're doing now.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. It's funny that you mentioned. Yeah, that's fair. It's funny that you mentioned the Adidas thing because it's true. It might be a Drake diss, but also remember, Adidas dropped the Yeezy brand sometime earlier this year, that's last year, because of all of Ye's really awful comments about just who. Pick a topic. Ye's something awful about it at this point, right? I think it was like stuff like White Lives Matter with being anti-Semitic, and like they were like, you know what?
Yes.
You are toxic to our brand. Get out of here. So that could be reference to that as well.
It probably is, but you know what? I got a fact check. I just realized Drake is definitely on Nike. Drake is definitely a Nike guy because on Sycamore he says checks over stripes. So he's definitely team Nike. So I realized that's not, that part's not for Drake, but there's a direct shot at Drake on this. And yeah, I mean, I think Kanye is just talking his shit in a bad way, not in like a cool, like you can't tell me nothing kind of way, but in like I'm just
kind
of
like when you're working retail and someone's like talking and saying like, oh, these darn kids these days, you're just kind of like, sir, yep, that'll be $10, yep,
that'll be $10, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it feels like. So it doesn't really hit. There's no real impact if you ask me. And I think Kanye should focus on his craft for a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, on his craft. Yeah,
I'll say, but maybe not hopefully, but maybe we'll give the album a listen for our review next week, and we can see if the album has some moments that where we shines. I don't think there will be, but we'll find out.
Maybe so, and I think we'll listen. I think it'll be interesting. It will be, for me at least, it'll be interesting to just see if he walks anything back that he's been saying for the past couple of years to be less inflammatory, if I'm putting it lightly. But we'll see. That's a whole discussion for next week.
It is.
I just put simply, I hope Kanye does better as a person on this album, but my hopes are not high. I'll leave it at that.
I definitely agree with you. My hopes are not high. And we'll just have to see what happens. I don't think that there's going to be much positive coming from him in the future. If I'm being honest. So I thought he was retired from music. I just he's so inconsistent. That everything that he says, I just have to almost ignore.
Before we get into the last news section, I was going to say, a new game here on One of the Thoughts I'm proposing, because last week or 2 weeks ago we did Gambino diss Drake. This week we did Mustard diss Drake. This week we talk about Ye and Mustard dissing Drake. I just think we'll just see if we can get a streak going of someone relevant dissing Drake, because it seems to be the trend these days, just to diss Drake.
It does.
For whether. I mean, I've been dissing Drake since we did his album. I said fuck Drake. I've been saying fuck Drake for years now. I'm not a trend writer. I'm a trendsetter in this respect.
I'm not the biggest Drake hater, so when you get Drake out of me, then that will be the moment. I already feel like nature's healing in the sense that people are going back to listen to Drake. So,
I mean, we'll see. All right, but you got more news story for us today, right?
This is one last news story. Megan Thee Stallion showing up to Atlanta for Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo showing up to the Kamala Harris rally in Atlanta. It was a huge scene. There was a lot of support. But the reason why I want to focus on Megan Thee Stallion is because people were hating after she showed up. People were saying it was performative. People were saying that Kamala Harris isn't, really supporting the things we want to support and all this negative stuff. At Megan Thee Stallion's show after the rally, so not even at the rally, after the rally, she talked about it, and she made it clear. She said that people were fake mad. She said that people who were mad at her and Kamala Harris for being performative and all that aren't actually listening. And she goes on to state the reasons why, you should support Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate. It was multiple things. She says, Kamala wants a ceasefire. Kamala supports women's rights. Kamala's tired of these high-ass gas prices. Let's go out and support Kamala Harris. And I'm like, this is the contrast between what I was talking about with Sway Lee last week. Sway Lee's like, oh, go do your research, yada, 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 and then didn't say anything of substance about, politics and what he supports and the reasons why he is critical of Kamala Harris, other than go do your research. And he was also the guy wearing the Trump shoes, so it sounds a little biased. Where Megan Thee Stallion comes out here and she's like, okay, so you guys think I was being fake when I said that? Let me give you all the reasons why I support her and why I think you should too. It's not just some it's not just me trying to attach my name to something. This is what she said. This is what she said she'll support, and you know what? That's enough for me at least.
Plus, was it Megan Thee Stallion or was it someone else who very recently restored power to one of the cities that was hit by a storm?
Funny you say that. I didn't even think about that. Yes, Megan Thee Stallion. I believe it's out of her own pocket or out of her own. She put in the work. What she did, from my understanding, was in her hometown of Houston, and I don't know if they're surrounding areas as well, but in her hometown of Houston, she invested in generators for the elderly because when the power goes out, and it's super hot or whatever, that can be dangerous to their health. So she invested for the people in that community to have generators. So if the power goes out, because Texas has really bad infrastructure, that they'll have access to cold air and all the things they need to to be healthy. And she definitely did that. It wasn't like one of those like PR stunts where she was out posing with the with the generator saying look what I did. Like she just did that because she thought that was important. So it's fun. I didn't even realize that, but yeah, she's very active. Just civilly, I'll say she's very active civilly, which is huge. To see her go to continue to do that. Just past that initial action she did, which I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's the opposite of performative, I would say, right? It is. It's
literally the opposite of performative. It's crazy to call it performative at this point. Now that you say that, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like unfortunately there are a lot of really easy reasons to dislike Kamala Harris that are based off of like prejudice, basically, and I feel like that's kind of like what's taking hold here. So I am really I support Megan Thee Stallion coming up and like being like, I support her. I'm doing these things. Here's why. Fuck y'all.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. So yeah, we'll see how this election cycle ends up shaking down, because it's gonna be a doozy.
It's gonna be a doozy. It's gonna be it's gonna be definitely one that's to put it in nerd language, it splits the timeline.
You're right. It is. And sometimes I wish it was a political podcast, only because I want to talk about how much I didn't like when people were talking about Joe Biden dropping out. I was like, I get it, but that sounds crazy to me. The election's in like a couple months. Like he's the incumbent president. Like I think you guys are reaching. I would have never expected there to be so much positive momentum from him dropping out. Alex, I was wrong. Like, I was full up wrong, and I'm happy I was wrong. I'm so glad I was wrong. This is like the best, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best time we could have gotten this year so far. I couldn't have foreseen a better timeline at this point. Like, this is as much of a win I could have imagined. Younger people getting. I don't think it could have gone better.
You know what? Our dads and I were going to quick detour to talk about this actually, because it's funny that we have the color president dropping out, which is already a huge miss and happened a whole bunch. We have the opponent getting an assassination attempt that we've all kind of forgotten about at this point, right? It just kind of did not stay in the public zeitgeist. And we have the new nominee, who is a black woman, a mixed race black woman, right?
Yes.
All three of these things on their own in an election cycle would be a lot. To have them all happen together, and
a couple weeks, couple months.
Couple weeks. I think a couple weeks even.
I think it all happened in the span of 1 month. Actually, for being honest, I think it all took place in the span of 1 month.
Yeah, I think that's all. It's all pretty wild, right? And I think it's just it. I think it goes. I think there's a lot of reasons why it happened this way. I think it's for a while, at least my circles have been like, Joe Biden for a number of reasons shouldn't run, and I am glad that. I'm almost glad that him and Trump had that debate, because in that debate it really showed how much Biden's age was really impeding his performance as. And I think if not for that, people would have been like, "Oh, no, he's fine." It's like, I don't know, man.
It clearly wasn't, and also, this is good for Joe's legacy. Like he's going to be viewed more favorably in the history books for stepping down at this point in the election cycle.
I can agree with that. That it would have been. It's better for Lexi to step down now than for him to have kept running and then most definitely lose, I would say.
I mean, as far as what I saw was that there's only been one other president who stepped down willingly, outside of the term limits.
Washington, right?
And what'd you say?
Who was it?
According to my unchecked sources, it was George Bush. Wrong George Washington.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like it was. Yeah, he was the first one that was like, yeah, we should.
He was GW. It's like the most. I mean, as much as we all hate America, that's the most the most American thing you can do is step down. I guess you put country over yourself. So shout out to Joe for that. I'll give him that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let's move on to single seconds.
All right, single seconds. Play the jingle. Woo! All right, we got single seconds here. We got one from me, one from John, and I'll start us off here. My single seconds is by an artist that I am a super fan of. Her name is not Halia, unfortunately, as our producer has misspelled it. It is Mahalia.
Okay, I can fix that for you.
Yeah, fuck our producer. Yeah, fuck that guy. I'm kidding. Like, probably just misread me. Nope.
What is it?
Mahalia. So it's Mahala.
MAHL.
MAHALA.
MAHA. Try this again. I don't even know.
There we go. Yes, that's exactly.
Okay. All right. Cool.
We got there. Just in from our producer. No, all right.
It's still you. So go ahead.
All right, we're here with single seconds. My single of the week is by one of my favorite artists, actually, Mahalia, and her new single, Life Size. And she's also partnering with Take a Day Trip, which is another small group. And they released this song, and like all Mahalia songs, it's a hit. Just like put it simply, it's a hit. It does a really good job of balancing like that slower tempo, that faster tempo, to make a song that like really keeps your attention. And I think as well, though, this song is in my mind, pretty emotionally resonant because Mahalia is a Black woman who has a larger body type than than most people. So like this song in particular is like her talking about her journey with body positivity and like how she's kind of grown into her own body and learned to love it despite like what like haters, what other people are kind of like decrying her body for. And as someone like who generally speaking has a larger body, I really appreciate that message. I appreciate like her sharing like her journey with that, and I appreciate it being a good song because I think it's easy to have a message like that in a either bad or corny song, and that's just kind of it's fine, but like I think it's even better to have a song that is both really well made and to have a message like that. And I think Mahalia and Take a Day Trip had really hit the head on the nail for this one.
What genre is this song?
It's not quite R&B. It's not quite pop. It's like somewhere in the middle of those two of them for sure.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing. I'll go ahead and share my single then. My single's a little bit older. I try to usually do my singles as new as they are possible, but this is something I came across after we did the review of Bando in the Stone World. That's a song called One Wish by an artist I have never heard of before until prior to this song, Raven Lenae. Like I said, featuring Childish Gambino. I would consider this like a neo soul R&B song. It has some elements pulled from hip hop, but it is an R&B song through and through. It's nothing. The message of the message and the theme of the song isn't anything groundbreaking. It's I guess a love song, you could say. The song kind of being about her one wish, about being how she loves this guy and he's disappointing her, and she can't waste her one wish on him. And Childish Gambino kind of comes in playing the part of that guy, being like, I love you, but like, I think there's this really funny line where he's like, I left a message with your mama. Oh, she gave me drama. I just thought it was a little funny refrain there, and he ends his verse with, it's a short verse because it's very melodic, so there aren't too many it's not a long, it's not very what's what I'm looking for. It's not very lyrical. There you go.
Sure.
It's just a bunch of like melodies and singing. But Childish saying, I hope your one wish does come true. I miss you after, the person in this song missing the birthday party and just being unreliable. It really works just sonically, and it's been stuck in my head all week since I heard it. I think it's a really good song. So I had to shout this song out just because I didn't know the artist, and I think the song is so good that I think people should go ahead and listen to it. We love to see new artists rise up in the scene.
Oh yeah, because he's having a concert here actually in October. And if you're in LA,
I just saw that, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go. Just support new artists. It'll probably be a nice, like, low key, good vibe, intimate show. So we'll see about that. I ended up listening to some of her other songs, and I'm a fan. So we'll see.
Yeah, apparently she's done tour, or she's open for like SZA, No Name, which I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited for her career growth. Honestly, I think it'll be pretty dope.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, enough with all the normal shit. Today, the main event is here. We're talking about my thing, musicals. John, are you ready?
I am so ready for this.
Okay, musicals. Epic the Musical. So, just for some quick context before we really jump into this. Epic
Please do.
Is started on TikTok of all places, where this one guy was like, hey, I really like the Odyssey. I can write some music. I'm just going to start writing some music about the Odyssey on TikTok and just see how far that gets me. And now we're here, like, I want to say 3-ish years later, when he has 5 albums of this project, multiple singers lending their voices to it. So many fan projects, animations, art, etc. I've made art for it, as a fan, and it's just a really interesting take on this very classic Greek myth of the Odyssey. Which, fun fact, is where the word Odyssey comes from, the myth of the titular character Odysseus. And so this retelling was very interesting, and it became very popular on TikTok, I think, for a reason. It's a musical where, because you got to see the writer writing the songs in real time and see how he was workshopping them and working on the stuff, and yeah, it's making for a really interesting piece. Now, I call it a musical. To be clear, musicals are actually performed on stage or performed on a big screen. This so far is just the song version of the other song. It's just the songs. There's no stage direction like that's what's happening just yet. So that's something to consider, that it's different from other kinds of musicals, right? It's different from Wicked or Les Mis or Hamilton, in that it is just the songs, and that's the only way you can experience the show so far. And it's unfinished. Right now, what me and John have listened to, that right now is the full story that is out yet for the show. There are still, I think, about 15, 16 songs that are written but have not been released to public yet. So the full story is out and finished. But that is kind of wrapped right now. And so, John,
I have some questions. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. I was going to say, what questions do you have? Is the most experience?
Thank you.
Yeah,
mean, my questions my first questions actually aren't specific to musicals. I'm sure we'll get to that. But my questions about this project. My first question is, were you listening or invested in this project when it first started? And regardless if so or if not, do you know how long this project has been ongoing?
I was invested in this project not when it first started, but I was exploring on TikTok one day, and I heard one of the songs that's planned for later on in the show. I don't even heard it yet. It's a song where the protagonist meets his arch enemy for the last time, and I was just struck by how good the song was, and not just that, because of the way that TikTok works, where there are lots of stitches and covers. Lots of different singers were covering the song to audition for that role. So I was kind of inundated with various various versions of this work. And so I want to say publicly, at least to us, I'm not on the piece working on it, but I think he's been working on it for at least 2 to 3 years, and I've been aware of it for at least a year or two. Because when I first heard the songs, the only ones that were out were the first 2, which are The Horse and the Infant and the Cyclops Saga, and those are the only 2 that that were out at the time. So
the reason I ask is because I feel very lucky, and I'm really glad that I'm entering at this point, because I just listened to it, for everything that's out. I was able to just put it on, and from start to finish, I listened to the whole thing. I have no context about what was happening on TikTok. I don't know about all the other versions. I don't know what's out. I don't know what people have been waiting for. All I heard was what was released from beginning to, I won't say end, but where we're at today. And I think that, I think that that's probably a better listening. I mean, it's subjective, I'm sure. But for me, that feels like a better experience. It's an experience I'd rather have than in waiting 2 years. Because I feel like waiting 2 years and I see how short each section is. Like that's, I'm not saying it's a drag, but like
it definitely.
Yeah. Like you may lose your enthusiasm for it, your interest in it, or you may forget about it, or etc. Whatever.
I found an exact date for you. His first video was uploaded. George's first video, the writer behind all this, the producer, uploaded January 17th, 2021.
There you go.
So that's when the first video uploaded. So yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah, exactly. Like I think I'm very glad that I was able to just take it all in at once, and I think for me it allowed me to appreciate it more.
Gotcha. Yeah, could you talk a little bit about, like, as someone who I think does listen to a lot of musicals in your free time by choice, right? Because you mentioned before to me that you found a lot of them to be like kind of corny, right? Like that kind of like why they thinking about going to the store getting some milk. The joke you made a lot a couple weeks ago. So how is this starting to like this project then? Kind of compared to your expectations about what you're having?
I mean, it was hard to get into it because of that reason. When it's, I remember. When I first put it on and I started listening, I guess I was rolling my eyes at some points at just of like, of some of the lyrics. Actually, little pause. I'm gonna pull it up on, so I have some of the lyrics in front of me.
Go for it. While he's doing that, quick fun side tangent. This project had the same problem that Taylor Swift did, where the first 2 albums released were under a different production group that was not paying royalties to George himself. Until 2023, he made his own company and he recorded the first 2 albums under his own company name so that then he get royalties from. This thing is just A, interesting, and B, I remind you that the music industry is bad. Be careful, young artists, who you sign with. Because this guy had to make his own company from scratch to like get his money in the right places, despite all of his success. Same thing with Taylor Swift, right? So just that's a quick tangent. Be careful with your money and your voice and who you sign it away with.
You were absolutely right about that. So with that being said, I do have it pulled up here so I can go through lyrics when needed. And I think just like I wanted to reference like the first song, The Horse and the Infant. Like, yeah, I was definitely rolling my eyes as they're talking about their plan with the horse to invade and all that good stuff. And like here, like Neo, avenge your father or kill the brother. Like as I was starting, like that was taking me, I guess, out of it. I was like, oh man, I really got to sit through this and to this, and I wasn't looking forward to it. But I think once I got over that initial hurdle, I enjoyed it. I think I just needed to get over that initial difficulty. But once I got into it, once I got past that and I was into it, and I think once I started to listen to it less as a, because when I listen to an album for the show normally, I think about it as like I'm thinking about the meaning of the lyrics, and I'm also thinking about the lyricism, the cadences, the production, what I like and don't like sonically. But I think for this one, I put that aside, and I was more focused on listening to a story. I was like, and more like I honestly more approach this as like someone telling me a story, but they were singing it, which is kind of what musical is. But that is kind of like the mindset I took on when I put something like I'm not listening to the same way I listen to if Drake dropped an album. I'm listening to this specifically for the story, and then everything else I think is built around that. And I think that's an important perception to have when, especially if you're not someone who enjoys musicals. That's an important perception to have when giving them a try.
Gotcha. Was there a certain part in because listen to them all the way through in order? Was there a certain part where you really felt that change pay off, or did it kind of happen gradually?
Yes. Once I got to Full Speed Ahead, so 3 tracks in. Once I got to Full Speed Ahead, I was like, all right, I'm here with it. I'm here for this. I can, once I started thinking about 600 men, I don't know why, but every time they referenced that there were 600 men, I was like, yo, this is kind of hype. Like, they got 600 men. But also, like, obviously, as you listen through the story, it's like 600 men, and it's like, well, now we got 500 men. It's like, the number of men times, and it's like, okay, I'm definitely following along. But yeah, I think by Full Speed Ahead, I was invested.
Got you. That's so interesting because I feel like Full Speed Ahead in particular is the song that in the first set, so Horse and the Infinite, which is 5 songs, I think of those 5 songs for the Full Speed Ahead, I think in my mind at least sets a tone for what you think the adventure will be like. It's like, oh yeah, we got our crew here with us. We're just heading home. It's I got this. I'm Odysseus. I'm the leader.
Yeah.
And I think as an audience member, it's easy to be like, you know what? Yeah, he's got this. What could possibly go wrong? To that point, brother, I'm curious. What do you? Because I obviously heard the story a lot. I followed on TikTok, etc. I have a lot of context for this and for the Greek myth. But for you, how would you describe the plot as you understand it now, listening to this whole thing all the way
through? So I feel like I have a good understanding, but also because I'm only listening, sometimes it's hard to. Sometimes, like, one of the biggest things sometimes is knowing which character is speaking, and not like Odysseus.
Yes.
Like, I knew when he was speaking, but everyone other than him, sometimes I would get lost because there was it's not eucalyptus, but it sounds like eucalyptus. Is that Eutychus?
No, it's like there's Patroclus.
No, his homie, like his guy.
Oh yes.
It's like
Captain Polites.
Polites is there, but there's another guy, isn't there?
There's Polites and there's what's his? I know who you mean. It's not eucalyptus, but like it sounds like it. It sounds like it. So I'm trying to say it. I keep saying eucalyptus, but it's not eucalyptus.
It's not eucalyptus. It's not. But that's what okay. But him and Polites, I never realized. Like, it wasn't until after the fact I realized that we had those other characters. So I think that did cause some confusion for me.
For sure.
But overall, what I was able to gather is they went to war. War went pretty well, I believe, because my understanding was he went to war with 600 men and he's heading back 600 men. So like that's a good fight. That's a good battle.
That's a good record for a war. Yeah.
I don't know if I know by the end of this story they're saying it's been 12 years, but I don't know if at the start it was already 12 years or if we passed a lot of time. But by the end.
Since he saw the way, I'll just say to that.
Since he saw his wife, yes. But I wasn't sure if when we start this play, it's already been 12 years, or if we're at the end of by this current point, it's been 12 years. But regardless, yes, it's been 12 years. They've been on this mission, I imagine. They're at war, they won war, and now it's time to go home. And then things start to go wrong on the way home, obviously. I think they are running out of food. But I'm not sure why they're running out of food. But they're running out of food. So they go to this island, and the island has lotus eaters. And then the guy's like, well, let's lead with kindness. We go get some food from them. And then his homie's like, yo, they gave you essentially a poisonous leaf. Like, what are you doing? And then they're like, oh, man, you don't want that? Well, just go to this cave over here. And at this cave, you're going to eat good, and it'll be great. They go to the cave to eat good, and I think there's a Cyclops, right? There's a Cyclops in there. They get to the Cyclops, and then they get to the sheep. They start killing the sheep, and then the Cyclops walks out essentially. He's like, "Yo, why are you guys killing my sheep? This is so messed up. These are my sheep. You guys didn't even think to talk to me about this. I'm adding that in. I didn't say that, but that's my interpretation. Why are you guys eating my sheep?" And once again, Odie's like, dude, don't worry, I got some wine. Here, have some wine. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to start no beef. And then the guy's like, for that, I'll kill you last. And then the fight starts, and then we get into survive, and people, and then they're like, we're gonna fight, we're gonna win, we're gonna, you're like, we're gonna win this fight, and then we're gonna go home, and we'll be done, easy peasy. We'll just clean them up. And then at some point they go, he has a club, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. He has a club now. They get their asses beat. But Odie's like, guys, this is all part of the plan. I poisoned his wine, and then Odysseus spares him because Odysseus is a really nice guy. At the beginning of this, he's struggling with the idea of being a bad person, I feel like, or killing people, whatever. He's too merciful. Athena talks to him about that. But he spares this Cyclops, and he's able to leave. Him and his men leave. And then I think what happens is after him and his men leave, they get caught in a storm. I don't know if anything happens in between them leaving and getting caught in a storm. But they get caught in a storm. And while they're on their storm, they're unsure of how they're going to survive. I re-listened to this. I was listening to some songs, and I caught that they shot some harpoons into the sky. But I'm not sure at what point that happened exactly. But he did shoot some harpoons into the sky because they're trying to get to the Sky Island. I think maybe this going to the Sky Island worked, and he goes and talks to this person and this lady, and he's like, "Hey, I'm trying to get through this storm. What do I do?" And she's like, "Here's his bag. Just keep the bag closed. It has all the wind from the storm in it, and you're gonna get home smooth." And he's like, "All right, this sounds too easy. I just gotta keep this bag closed." He goes back to his crew, and he's like, "All right, guys, we're gonna sail home." And his crew goes, "Well, what's in the bag?" And he's like, "Don't even worry about it. We just keep the bag closed, and we gotta go home, or we'll be done." And then I don't know how this really plays out, but someone goes, "It's treasure," and now everybody thinks he's holding out treasure, which I thought that was really stupid. I don't think at this point Odie has any reason to be holding out treasure. And even if he was holding out treasure, that can wait till you guys get home to figure that out. But whatever. Someone thinks he has treasure. So he's like, "No, guys, we just got to keep the clothes and go home." Yada, yada, yada. He goes back to his room. I think he drifts off in his room. And while he drifts off in his room, someone comes in and opens the bag of storms, and everything goes crazy. Once everything goes crazy, they get trapped, or they end up on a different. They end up lost, I think, because of the storm. They end up lost because of the storm, and because they end up lost, they go to this island. They send some men out to scout the island, and the men are greeted by I forget her name, and the nymphs, and Cersei and the nymphs, and then they all get turned to pigs. Odie goes, and Odie's like, "Did you really turn my guys to pigs?" And she's like, "Yeah, I did, and you better run. I'm gonna fuck you up." And he's like, "Well, Hermes gave me this fruit, so you actually can't fuck me up. So, what are we gonna do?" And then she's like, "Oh, I got other ways of convincing you." And he's like, "I'm a married man. Get the fuck out of here. I am trying to get back to my wife." And I think she's impressed by that, and she's like, "You're a good dude. So if you want to get out of here, what you got to do is you got to go through the underworld. That's the only way." Or no, there's a prophet in the underworld who can tell you how to go home. They go to the underworld, and then while they're in the underworld, I get a little bit lost. I am not going to lie to you.
No worries. No worries.
I get to the underworld, and then I don't know if they find the prophet, or if they find some sirens, or if the sirens were the prophet. I don't know. I got
lost a little bit there.
It gets a little lost, but at some point he does end up talking to a siren who tells him that he needs to go through Scylla's lair to get home.
Yep.
So they decide, he's like, "All right, you know what? We're gonna go through Scylla's lair." Something does happen throughout all that. I remember very distinctly they have the song "Monster," and that's why I'm not really sure what happened, but at some point he's like, "You know what? I'll be the bad guy if I gotta be the bad guy. I gotta get home. I'm ready to be the bad guy. I don't care anymore. We gotta get out of here. So I'll be the bad guy. I gotta be the bad guy." So they go through Scylla's lair.
Yep.
They have a song about suffering.
Yes.
And then Scylla shows up. And then Odie just goes, "Hey guys, we're just gonna run." They run, 6 men die, and then Eucalyptus is like, "Dude, there's no way you knew that was gonna happen." But another point in the story where I'm like, "Are you? Come on, dude! Like, I get it. 6 men just died, and maybe he didn't know that was gonna happen, or maybe he didn't know. But this has been a very long journey." Okay, like, are we really gonna get mad at him because at this one portion of the story, he didn't have a good plan other than let's just book it, guys? Like, he can't go to every single problem and say, "I have a figure out a solution where we all live." And honestly, it's kind of dumb because at the beginning of the play, everyone's like, "Stop being so nice. Toughen up." And then he toughens up, and his best friend's like, "I can't trust him anymore. I would have smacked him." Dude,
honestly, put a pin in that, because I have thoughts about that as well. But keep going.
So like that was I can't believe as his best friend, you're mad at him because this thing went wrong. Like I don't think that we told him, it's like a tangent. In the same way presidents make hard decisions, Odie made a hard decision, okay? He did what he needed to do, and he got everyone but 6 men through the river. So, okay, man, that is what it is. And then I think a scuffle happens. I think they knock out Odie. And they end up at an island, and I think it's the Sun God's island. And they're all there, and he's like, and then I don't know if it's Eucalyptus or Polides. I think Polides might be dead at this point, so probably Eucalyptus. But regardless, they're like, look, man, we're starving. This mission has not gone according to plan. They got cows everywhere here, so we're gonna eat. And Odie's like, you guys are kidding me, right? This is the Sun God's Island. You literally told me the statue over there. We know where we're at. Let's not eat these cows. Don't give up. We've been through too much to give up here and eat these cows. And I'm agreeing with Odie. Like, we've been through a lot here just to eat God's cows. Like, come on. We already pissed off Poseidon. We've already, fought sirens. You guys have been turned to pigs. We fought a Cyclops. Oh, I actually skipped. That's what happened in the storm. Poseidon pulls up. And Poseidon's, and that's an important point, because Poseidon's extra mad at him for sparing the Cyclops, which is crazy. But he's extra mad at him because he spared the Cyclops. So anyways, we've already put up Poseidon, whatever, we'll go back to where we're at now. And Odie's like, guys, please do not eat this man's cows. We've already done it. We've been through enough problems. We don't need to eat this man's cows. Wait. Sorry.
Go for it, yeah.
Before it happens, before they go to the Nile, I have to say, Eucalyptus is like, hey, by the way, I opened the bag of storms. So I just have to put that because I'm very mad at Eucalyptus at this point. I would have killed him at this point, honestly. He opened the bag of storms. No one can trust anybody. I don't blame him for just saying, let's run through. Anyways, they're there.
Yes.
I don't blame Odie for maybe hating his crew at this point. Because if everyone had just listened to him, shit would have been smooth. I think that's what gets me the more since I listened to it the second time. I was like, wait a minute. If people had just listened to Odie, this probably would have been pretty much fine. But anyways, once again, the people are not listening to him, and they're like, "We're gonna eat the cow, man." He's like, "Don't eat the cow. We eat the cow," and then they just do it. They just do it. They don't care. They kill the cow. They can eat it. And he's like, "Oh my god, everyone run!" We all start running, and then the Thunderbringer shows up. And I'm mad this is where it ends, because at this point I was like, well, what happens next? Thunderbringer's like, y'all ate my cows. Essentially the Cyclops. You came, you killed my animals, and you think you can just get away from this? Like, no, I'm not going to let you just get away from this. And he says, you know what, Odie, I'll let you choose. You can die, or all your men can die. And Odie's there like, this is a tough one. Don't do this to me. And he's like, bro, you got to choose. Either they die or you die. I don't care. Someone got to die. And he's like, damn. And then one of his crew members goes, he'll kill us. And he's like, yeah, I know. But and then I don't know. Like, obviously, it's heavily implied that he's like, yeah, man, they got to go. And I'm going to head home. But that's where it ends. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's become that monster. He says, hey, let them die. I'm going to go home. And he kills them, and then it's over for us. And that's where we ended up at. And I don't know if he continues the rest of the journey by himself. I guess we'll have to see. But that is my kind of story. And I think I hit everything pretty well, except for the underworld. I'm not sure what happened in the underworld.
So first of all, I think that was a pretty good summation of all that, of all the plot of that. Honestly, you nailed a lot more than that you're going to. So well done. Yeah. You got it. Honestly, yeah, because you just talked for so long too. I'm gonna give you a break for a second here and just go through because basically, you did in fact get most things right. I'll go in reverse order just to keep it kind of easy. The one thing I want to mention is that in Thunderbringer, it's basically like you said, it's like Zeus being like, hey, when you else gotta die. Like you said, Odysseus chooses himself, and then it's implied that at the end of the song, the thunder you hear is Zeus throwing down lightning at their ship and killing them all except for Odysseus. So it's implied to be ending with like Odysseus being alive and his Scarlet crew being dead via lightning bolt from the gods. Because again, his crew is kind of being silly. They're tired, they're hungry, but make better choices. I don't know what to say. His name is Eurylochus. It sounds like Eucalyptus. That's what's like. Oh wait, it's almost that, but it's not quite that.
Yes.
I want to clarify what happened in Scylla because I think that will explain them using it a little bit more. In Scylla, what basically back in Suffering, where he meets the Siren's like, "You gotta go through Scylla, right?" And Odysseus says, "There's a cost in Scylla," and it's like, "What does that mean?" Right? Basically, what the song Scylla is implying happened, and that song is implying happened, is that Odysseus had 6 men hold 6 torches. Because Scylla herself is a monster with like 6 heads. And so Odysseus' plan, like he didn't tell anybody, but his plan was that for each of those 6 men to hold a torch and for the 6 mouths to be distracted by eating those 6 men and everyone else just go through. Eurylochus realized this after the fact and was like, bro, that plan was fucking sucked ass. And he's like, well, it worked, man. I know what you want from me.
It's a pretty good plan, yeah. That was a good plan.
And I think this gets into what I will say. My question is for the story as it continues, like, what is the lesson that we are supposed to want Odysseus to take away from the story? Because is it to be more merciful or is it to be more ruthless? Because, like you said, he's been more ruthless, and now he's alone with no ship and no crew in the middle of the ocean, because his actions, while being more ruthless, got him and his friends. Like, you know, in bad situations, he got 6 of them killed. His crew wants to mutiny against him. So, and mind you, too, going back a little farther here, he was pretty merciful in interacting with Circe, right? He's like, hey, Circe, I have a wife. I'm a married guy. Please help us, right? He asks her to help, and she says, you know what? Okay, right? That's he didn't stab her, right? He didn't like he asked her. And he's like, you know, and she does. So for me, I ended up kind of feeling, but in this saga, I'm kind of like, okay, on a story perspective, I am curious what the end point of his character will be, and like what theme. I feel a little bit like the two themes are a little bit kind of fighting for dominance in this story.
Yes.
Yeah. But to keep clarifying, basically what happens is that after they leave Circe's island, they head to the underworld, where in the underworld they see ghosts of their dead crew. One of whom, Polites died in the Cyclops fight. That's what happened. Guy was like, greet the world with open arms. That guy died in the Cyclops fight, and in underworld you see his ghost there. As well, you find out that Odysseus' mom also died since he's been away. And that's why he hears his voice down there. And so after he sees all the ghosts, he meets the prophet. And the prophet's basically like, he's like, bro, you know how prophets kind of have weird like double speak?
Yes.
Prophet's like, Odysseus, I could help you get home, but it won't be you anymore. And Odysseus takes this super literally. He's like, what do you mean, man? He's like, yeah, it'll be someone... Your wife's coming there. It's going to be someone who's very ruthless, bloodthirsty, has killed a bunch of people. And Odysseus is like, well, who is it? Who do you mean? And he's like, yeah, who knows who it could be? And it's like, bro, you.
Okay, I see. Okay,
yeah.
I see.
But after he hears that prophecy, he's like, you know what? Nothing's worked. I'm going to start being an asshole. And then that's when he does everything that happens in the Scylla song, and then the mutiny, and then choosing for his crew.
I see.
So that's kind of it's everything, right? Yeah. And so that is kind of the tale so far of Epic. There's still a lot more to cover. Is he going to get home?
Yes.
If Athena, who left him early, is going to come back and help him out? All this stuff.
So.
Yeah. So, but like I do agree. I think go for it.
I'll say I think Athena would respect the person he's become.
Yes. Because earlier on in the story, Athena and Odysseus have a sort of breakup song because Athena is kind of like, wants him to be more ruthless and strategical, and he wants to be nicer. And now
like, you just don't get it yet. You don't get it yet, but you'll get it one day.
And I think he gets it. I think he really does get it, right? I think he understands. But to your point, though, like, for instance, with the Scylla song, right? I think that's a hard song for someone who doesn't have context to know what happened. Like, it wasn't until I heard Mutiny that I realized even that Odysseus had done anything wrong. And even then, I had to go back and, like, figure out, like, oh, shit, he did plan for that to happen, right? So I do think that is something that, like, with a music-only story, I think you do run the risk of that stuff being kind of vague, right?
Yeah.
And hearing you talk about how we were lost in the Underworld saga, that saga too is, like, very, like, supernatural and ghostly and all these things that when the voices you are getting mixed up to an average listener, that's super hard to figure out what's happening in there.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you at all for getting confused in that story. But all that said, you got the story. What do you think of the story?
Oh, I loved it. I love the actual story. Okay, I love the story, but I will say, you're not gonna. I'm gonna give you. But as I listened, I thought to myself, like, for as much credit as I have to give George for putting this together, he's telling the Odyssey, so we had a pretty good it was like he had a pretty good script to work off of when putting this together. It wasn't like he hand drafted the story. He had a pretty good reference point for everything here. So I think it would have been. I think it would have been not hard. I think I'd be really disappointed if he told this story poorly.
I see what you mean.
So like I'm not necessarily like surprised that it's a good story because it should be. It's the Odyssey.
It's one of the oldest stories that we have.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is like literally the oldest story that everyone talks about. It better be good, even in musical form. But I liked it. I mean, I definitely liked. It's not finished yet, so that's why it's tough. But I was enjoying seeing Odysseus's character development. Knowing where he ends up in a spot that is really ends up in a very ruthless state of mind. This is just super interesting to me because at the beginning I was like, I feel you, Odie. You want to be a good person, but when being a good person doesn't get you as far as you'd like. Like tangent but related. I was watching Megan Thee Stallion interview earlier this month, and she had mentioned that like one of the things that her grandma told her was, "You're too nice. If you're nice to everybody, there will be people who will take advantage of that." And I feel like that's something that like even I have to think about. Like people will take advantage of your kindness, and I think something that's Odie here is dealing with that. Like being kind isn't always going to get you as far as you like, and being merciful put him in a worse spot, which I still think is crazy, but being merciful put him in a worse position.
Now, what? Yeah, so, let's pull that pin from earlier. Talk about Eurylochus a little bit here. Eurylochus, who was simultaneously like, "Beware the gods, be careful," and all this stuff, but also the guy who opened the wind bag and who like put them in all that danger, right? And kind of how that character was always in the Odyssey, but he didn't used to be the person who did that, or like that. It used to be that the wind bag was opened by just the crew in general. Like thinking like, oh yeah, there's probably gold or some shit in here, right?
Yeah.
And instead in this retelling of the story, it specifically is Eurylochus who opens it. And also additionally, originally the crew does not mutiny against Odysseus. What happens is that Odysseus falls asleep on the island of the cows, and the crew are so hungry they sneak out to eat a cow, thinking he won't notice. Right? So he's made Odysseus had to make these changes to make the Eurylochus and Odysseus conflict a lot more intense, which I think it is. But in the what happens is that end up being like, yo, Eurylochus kind of sucks. Like Eurylochus kind of really made all this a lot worse than it needed to be.
I like, yeah, man. I just thinking about the crew throughout the story. I just found it very frustrating. Like by the end, when he has to choose between himself or his crew, like I'm sitting there thinking, well, they did open the wind bag, they did get the cow, like You just gotta, he tried his best, but what are you gonna do?
They did just mutiny me like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like you want. Yeah. You guys are out. You guys are so out of this. You guys are so out. I do not want to. I'm not with you guys anymore.
Yeah, I think originally too, they just doesn't get a choice to save his crew. Then originally Zeus just nukes the crew for eating the cow. So I think in this retelling, it's a powerful choice for emotionally, but I do think you have to do a little bit more work to make me think that there's a world where Odie would ever choose the crew. You know?
Yes, exactly. Like you wouldn't choose it. Like based off what we saw, there is no reason to choose that crew. That crew does not need to be. That crew does not need to be brought into this. I completely agree with you. So, overall, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I followed the story, as you can tell. I was invested.
Hell yeah! I'm about to hear it because I picked it because it was based off of like an older, more popular story, and because I think there are other musicals that I like, but I think those other musicals, I think it's harder to get over the hump of like, why are they thinking about X thing? Especially when like they will sometimes have like rapping. Like the rapping is not bad objectively, but it is kind of like this feels a little bit unnatural and a little corny. It's a little bit hard to get over. This musical doesn't have really have that problem. That's as much anyway.
I don't think so. No, I agree.
Yeah. So speaking a little bit about the music though, did you have a song or songs that stood out to you as like sounding better or sounding worse even? Like I'm curious about like either end of the spectrum for you.
Yeah, that's a good point because I feel like that's a good point. I think how about this? I feel like I have a hard time picking out a certain song that I liked or disliked, but what I can say for sure is because they're broken up into different sections, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got like whatever. The Cyclops section to me was the strongest.
Really?
That Cyclops section with like Remember Them and
and My Goodbye,
Survive. Like that to me was the strongest section of the entire. That was the strongest section sonically, story wise. The ending section with Thunderbringer was a part of the story where I was like, "Yo, what is happening? I need to know," and that's why I'm so mad that it ends there because I'm like, "Well, what happens next?" I don't know. I don't know if that's because at the beginning of the story we have Zeus. I don't know. That's not a Zeus, right?
It is Zeus. It's the same.
The Thunderbringer. So he just comes back from the beginning of the story. Yes. He was the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Which is meant to be a parallel.
Couldn't be like, "Oh, I remember you." Like, "What's up, my guy?" Like he just said.
Well, it's because Zeus remembers him. Like he is so like, "Oh, this fucker who killed the baby when I asked him to, is for sure gonna kill his crew." But I'm gonna make him sweat about it.
Okay. I see now.
This is a little bit of a dick, right? So like, it's meant to be like Zeus recognizes Odysseus is very prideful, but will also like knows what kind of man he is, and it's just kind of toying with him honestly, and it's part of the story.
Okay. So the Thunderbringer is Zeus. I got confused about that because I was like, the Zeus kind of like Zeus at the beginning. They never call it like Thunderbringer is not called Zeus, and I don't think they actually call him Zeus.
Yeah, you're right.
But okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, they call Poseidon, and they call Hermes, but they don't
exactly.
Zeus. So that's fair.
How does go ahead? You go.
No, I wasn't going to start.
I was going to ask you. Do you know how does the Odyssey end for like the actual story?
Real? Yeah, for real. So basically, after I guess that's spoilers. So I guess for one clarifying, it's important. At this point in the story, in both tellings, it has been about 10 years since he last saw his wife. At this point, so it's implied that he saw his wife the same year he went to war, or something like that, basically.
Yes.
Okay, and so then after he loses his crew, his ship, and all that stuff, he washes up on an island with a demigod god named Calypso. And in the original myth, this is an old Greek story. Yes. In the original myth, Calypso and Odysseus, I think, are on the island for like 10 years together. And Calypso basically I forget if it's Calypso or either Calypso or Circe makes him basically be in love with her, But either way, he spends a lot of time with both women, and I think in some generation has a kid with both of them after being there for so long. But I think with Calypso especially, it's like Odysseus is only there because he has no way off the island at that point. And so what happens is that back at home, Odysseus' son Telemachus and his wife, think he's dead, but B,
yes,
because he was the king, right? So many people want to marry Penelope, his wife, for the throne, and that's a whole problem for them. So Athena to save Odysseus goes to Telemachus and gives him some tasks to do, or whatever. He's like, hey, do this, do that, do X, do Y, do Z, and then you'll get your dad back. Telemachus does those things, and somehow, someway, that leads Athena to be able to get Odysseus off the island and back home to Ithaca. Once in Ithaca, it's the whole thing. I'm summarizing here, right? Once in Ithaca, Odysseus pretends to be an old beggar man, because he wants to prove that he is the king. So he pretends to be old and homeless, participates in a tournament of suitors to win his wife's hand in marriage, and wins the tournament, and then reveals that he's Zeus. He also kills all the suitors. He also murders each and every one of the people that tried to marry his wife in cold blood.
What a king would do,
which goes back to the whole ruthlessness thing of the story, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and then him and his wife are just married, and that's kind of it. At some point on the way home, he has one more interaction with Poseidon, because Poseidon really hates Odysseus. Those two do not get along. And the song that George has written, where those two meet, is the song that I saw the most of when I first heard about the whole project. So I'm really excited.
Okay.
It's a very menacing track. Poseidon's pissed off as usual, but basically, yeah. Odysseus eventually gets home. I think after I think maybe 15, 20 years, he gets home finally. And after originally in the story too, Odysseus does in fact sleep with Circe, but it's implied that it's not of his own free will. It's a whole thing in the original that I think George very rightfully rewrites for this retelling of it. But I think and originally he's stranded. He gets home eventually. He meets his son. His son's happy. I think his dog dies, and that sucks. But what are you gonna? His dog dies because it's unfortunate because he gets home. He's in disguise, right? Mm-hmm. But his dog recognizes him. His dog is like, oh, that's my fucking that's Odysseus. And Odysseus, because he's in disguise, can't be like oh, that's my dog. He's just kind of like, oh, get away from me, you damn mutt. And it's very sad.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's super fucking
sad. That is sad.
Yeah. Odysseus' life is just pretty fucking tragic throughout the Odyssey.
But that's why they're aren't they called? Isn't that style of play not called tragedies?
It is. It is.
Right?
But
the
funny thing about the Odyssey is that the Odyssey ends up worse for everyone else on Odysseus' crew because they all just die. They all kind of
idiots.
They were okay. So let's talk about this for a second here. So Odysseus started off with 600 men, right?
Yes.
Most of those men were in different boats, but were in the same fleet, right?
Okay.
In Epic, most of those soldiers died after Eurylochus opened the windbag. And then Poseidon killed a lot of them. After Poseidon encounter, they go from 500 men to 50. Because Poseidon just crashes waves on top of a lot of them. So, it's just a really unlucky of them to be in the same spot that Odysseus.
So,
yeah, go for it.
No, you go first.
I will say it's this Odysseus. The big thing that that the myth emphasize and this story makes note of is that Odysseus could have avoided all of this if he didn't tell the Cyclops his name, and that is meant to be seen as his biggest mistake of everything. Is saying, "Hey, fuck you! I'm leaving you alive. Here's my name and address." Those two things in concert were the biggest mistakes that led to all the suffering that takes place over the course of the story.
Well, the Odyssey.
Because it's meant to be like, I think it's like either kill the Cyclops, or at the very least, don't tell him, your social security number, right? It's like don't do both those things. Where like you just let him call up his dad to come fuck you up, and then like I think
right after that, Athena's like, you're an idiot.
Yes.
After that, Athena's like, you are a dumbass. What are you doing? This is why I can't rock. This is why we can't rock together, because you're an idiot. Like I told this is exactly what I told you how to do, and you did it. This is gonna bite you in the ass, but you just don't get it yet, and it bit him in the ass.
And she was right, and she was super right. It totally 100%. Because it's worth noting too, though, that in the original myth, the theme was that Odysseus is too prideful, and in the retelling, it is still prideful, but George has mentioned that he wanted to emphasize that sometimes ruthlessness is a necessary trait to have in a character, and it's kind of made that, and like as you've experienced, right? It's kind of this part of the story that I think comes out a lot as the retelling goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, that's epic. I think.
Epic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite part, I think, is the last saga, i.e., the Thunderbird saga. Okay. I think the song Scylla is super fun to listen to. And I think when you first listen to it and you don't know, A, you find out Eurylochus opened the fucking wind bag like an idiot, and B, that Odysseus plans to kill his crew to get out of there. I think the combination of those two things, plus Scylla the monster singing about the whole thing while they're having this discussion, is just all really good. And yeah, I think that's really good. I'm excited for the next couple parts. I think I am still really interested in how he's going to tie the themes of ruthlessness and mercy together. Because right now, I do think it's a little bit, at least for me, you disagree, but because his crew was so specifically not dumb, but like they did cause some problems that I feel like neither mercy or ruthlessness would have solved. Like neither of those mindsets would have stopped them from opening the wind bag. If you know what I mean.
Maybe if he was more ruthless, they would have been too scared to open the bag.
I mean, that's fair. What's fucked about the bag thing too is that he was awake for 9 days straight to watch the bag, and the moment he fell asleep, his right hand man said, "Hey, guys, what if I looked inside?" Like, God.
But it's like after going to war, it's just crazy to me that they would kind of come back to the conclusion, like, you know what, we got to do all this war, but God damn, he might have some treasure. We gotta figure. It's like that's like the least important thing at that point. But whatever,
Yeah. You want to know how Odysseus' mom died?
Go ahead.
But she died in her bed in her sleep old age. But I mention it because when Odysseus and his crew got close enough to Ithaca, where his mom saw their ships off the shore, and was like waiting for them to dock, and that's when he opened the wind bag. And she watched all the ships blow away, and no one believed her that she saw them.
Oh my God! What a story!
Yeah, it's what a story indeed.
What a story!
Honestly, a detail I wish I made into the musical. Cause I think it's really fucking sad.
It is.
But yeah, that's epic. I appreciate you listening to it with me, and I know that it's not normally your thing. I'd ask this to kind of close out. Do you think you will keep up with the next releases, or you kind of just will listen to them as I eventually will tell you, like, hey, it's finished. Here's the whole.
Oh, when it's finished, just let me know when it's done. I don't want to know when we're at like part. As part like when we're at 5 of 5 or 6 of 6.
Yeah,
I just want to know when it's finished. Give me an update. Hey, it's done. It's you can text me. Hey, final epic just dropped. I'll go. I'll go finish the story. But no, I don't want to follow it along every single chapter. It's like waiting for Netflix to watch. It's like waiting for a show to drop an episode every week. I'd rather just watch it all at once.
Yeah, it's like started One Piece back in 1997.
Exactly.
Which is
One Piece.
Oof. And last question, but do you feel like this has at all changed your perspective on musicals, or do you feel still kind of like, we'll talk a little bit about how it's made me change your opinion, if at all.
I feel like this was a good entry point, So I'll give it that. It makes me more open-minded to listen to another one. But this didn't give me the impression that I really enjoyed the next one because this one has so much good going for it. I feel like kind of like you're saying that like the other musicals, that hurdle of them singing what they're doing and whatnot can be harder to get over. I think my perspective right now is I'd give another one a listen.
Yeah,
and we'll see, and then I'll go from there. Like I'll give a more all in on the musical aspect side of things a listen to see if this helped me bridge from not musical and musical. This can be the bridge there, but I don't foresee that follow-up listen to like win me over, and I don't foresee enjoying it as much as I enjoyed this. But you never know.
Never know. All right, next time on B-Sides with me, John's listening to Legally Blonde musical. But until then, I've been your host. John's been the guest. Catch us next week back to our regular little programming, probably with Vultures 2, with John, myself, and Father discussing Ye's latest work. And as always, peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Peace. Get out of here. Listen to that for free.
Do we have to give it a... I already closed out.
Oh, yeah. Give it a rating? Yeah. Out of 5, for me, it's an easy 4. I think I won't give it a 5. I won't give it a 5 until the whole thing is out, and then listen to it all the way through. And I think at that point, I will reconsider. But I think at this point, the themes are from... I think music actually a lot in general, but I think for me, the themes are a little bit still too muddy for me to really kind of be able to say, it's a story with no flaws and it's perfect, right? I think I'm still kind of want those things to kind of be resolved as far as the themes, the amount of conflicts going on in the story itself.
But it is a good story, so we definitely recognize that.
A good story with, I think, music that is, I think, for me, fun to listen to. It's not going to be like a short listen to the musical. Check it out.
Check it out. I agree. 4 out of 5 is all solid. Like I said, I'll be back when we get the last portions of this, and maybe I'll come back and give you guys my updated opinion, and maybe it will be a 4 out of 5, like Jeremiah said. But with that being said, thank you guys. Please check out crossfaderla.com. Share the Vinyl Thoughts podcast. This is the B-side. This was John. This was Jeremiah, and I think we're out.